Everyone, we're just going to get started now. So thank you all for coming today. So my name's Ailsa Russell. I'm a student brand ambassador for the University of St Andrews Entrepreneurship Centre. So if any of you haven't worked with us before, so some of the things that we help do, so we help with a whole range of stuff, from helping aspiring entrepreneurs sort of get started with their ideas and things like that, to assisting the early stage ventures. And then we also help out with supporting the growth of small to medium businesses, so and enterprises. So by connecting industry with our student and staff community, we sort of aim to help create a dynamic and thriving sort of entrepreneurial ecosystem. So we do this through a variety of programs, events, and also one-to-one support. So we provide the tools, the resources, and the guidance on how to get your ideas and your sort of research off the ground, and sort of bring that to life and help develop successful ventures to create lasting impact. So if any of this resonates with you, you can reach out to us after the session today. I mean, we're always here to help. If you've got any ideas, just wondering how to get started, that kind of thing, just reach out. It's very easy. So this Lunch and Learn today is the first of a 3-part series, which takes you through how entrepreneurial thinking can come from all sorts of places, from sports to STEM. And with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for today's session, Sheli McCoy. So Sheli is a very impressive person, so I'm going to get this right. So Sheli is an accomplished weightlifting and CrossFit champion, and many of you may recognise her as SABRE from the BBC's Gladiators. Alongside her success in sports and media, Sheli has built a thriving business by turning her passion for fitness into an entrepreneurial venture, and founding her own gym and developing a personal brand that blends elite performance, well-being, and empowerment. So today she'll be sharing her journey of transforming sporting passion into business success, and reflecting on her experience as a female founder in a male-dominated industry, offering insights into resilience, confidence, and building a business with purpose. So please join me in welcoming Sheli McCoy.
Thank you very much. Hi all. You actually know considerably a lot about me now, which is what this entire talk is really about. So my name is Sheli McCoy, and essentially I'm here to help in any way I possibly can. I originally started off just liking sport, and I really wanted to do something with my life where I woke up in the morning and wanted to go to work, or do something that didn't really feel like work, but I knew that I was helping people along the way. And fast forward from the start of that journey to here, I would now consider myself an entrepreneur, particularly in the sports field. A lot of people have an interest in beginning something of their own, whether that is in sport or in business. And I think one of the things that I will be able to share with you today is how the success of that may not be linear, and how I've managed to accomplish some of the things I have along the way and spin multiple plates at a time. I'm also definitely going to talk to you guys about the idea that you have to have balance within that, within life, within business, within building something. Because as an entrepreneur, I would definitely say that my ideas upon success and balance have massively changed in that time. We're going to work as a team here to be able to flick these slides, okay? So the first thing we'll talk about is my beginnings and an insight. Please feel free at any time to stop me and ask a question. I don't want this to be super formal where I talk at you and you all go away. I'd really rather it was more of a discussion between us all. Then we'll talk about some of the achievements and the mindset that I require to get there, and then my advice and recommendations for you. Again, a lot of this is more just what I can offer you. So if there's something that resonates and you want to look further into that, please just stop me and we can just talk a tandem from that. So this is me and my mum. Here she is. That's my mum. And I'm actually not 35 anymore. I'm actually 36. But I am a fitness industry entrepreneur, a founder and a CEO and a director in 7 companies. This is my business partner, Sam. He's partnered with me in 4 of those. And then a competitive athlete in 2 sports. I do CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting. CrossFit for me was my entry into sport. That's how I decided to get fit and active, and out the back of that, someone gave me a barbell. I absolutely loved it. I know St Andrews has a really great weightlifting team as well. And I've built more so on the Olympic weightlifting side. And 5 weeks ago, I competed in Norway at the World Championships. So for me, I would definitely say Olympic weightlifting has been the biggest focus on sport to a higher degree, but CrossFit was how it even got me there to start with. I'm an online and in-person coach. I still coach now. I probably shouldn't because it takes a lot of time, but it's one of my most favorite things to do. I love to offer education in sport, health and fitness, and one-to-one. It's such a great way to do that. I'm a Team GB weightlifting youth coach. I'm part of Team GB's senior staff, so where we basically take all the youths at age anywhere from 11 to like under 23s and work with them developing their skills. I mostly do the mobility and fitness analysis with them, help them work on the other ways to move the needle rather than just training. And then I'm a television personality and entertainer. That's not deliberate, but I'll tell you a bit about that. That just came out of nowhere, but I'll tell you a bit about that after. So my educational journey, fast forward all the way to this point that we're at now, I went to Robert Gordon's University. And for me, that never ever felt like a possibility within my life. Even my mum will tell you I was not an academic at all. But I went to Belbaxter High School. It's the same school my dad actually went to, so we went there. And then moved on to Elmwood College, where I did a modern apprenticeship. And I left school at 15. That caused a bit of a problem. So I left school at 15 because academia I didn't think was for me, and I wanted to ride horses for Scotland and GB, and I wanted to be a professional at that. My mum said, that's a great idea, but you can't leave school. And I said, I'm already on a train to Doncaster. Sorry about that. And that's really what happened. And I literally left and I went and rode horses with some very talented riders, but you need to have millions to make it on a world stage with these horses, because one horse costs millions, and they eat so much, and that also costs a lot of money. So that just really wasn't the thing for me. But while I was away, I did a modern apprenticeship in equine management and care, and that was our compromise. If I'm not in education, physical education, I could do something education-wise. So when I came back, I went to Elmwood College, and I had to get an HNC and an HND, of course, because I had no hires, and I wanted to actually have an education. And then from that, I moved into Robert Gordon University. I got my degree, an honours degree, and then went on to take a scholarship. I won Best Overall Performance in the university, finishing my honours. And at the back of it, the university offered me a master's in connection with Techno Gym, if you've heard of Techno Gym, and then Robert Gordon University, basically studying whether Techno Gym equipment could help, it's pneumatic based, and whether it would help reduce the risk of falls in older adults and the massive financial burden on the NHS with inactive adults, essentially. My hypothesis was right, it did not work, but that's another story. Okay, so if the answer is the sum of all efforts, what is the question? What is this the answer to? Does anyone know what this is?
What you are in your life, what you become.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great, go for it, yeah. What is success? Like, what is success? And success is the sum of all efforts. So the sum of your efforts is your success, and the sum of mine is mine. I think we probably, if I asked each individual person here, what do you think success is? Our answers would be so different. And I think sitting in my university body, if you'd asked me then, it would have been far different to the way I think about success now. And I think a lot of that comes from what I thought it would look like, and I got there, and I was like, oh, no, I'm going to move the goalpost because this doesn't feel like it yet. And I think I've moved the goalpost on what it will be to be successful so many times that I realize success is not this one thing that I thought it was, this financial freedom that I thought it was, this status that I believed it would be. And I think the one thing I would really love for you guys to also, maybe at some point, is think about, what do you think success is now? the you right now, what would you deem your success to look like? But also, interestingly, how do you think that will make you feel? Because those two things have been very different for me. Definitely over the last like 4 to 5 years, the way I thought it would feel and how I thought it would look are so different, completely different. They don't align at all. So that's something that I think I'll talk to you more about during now. Yes, please, Elsa. Okay, so my personal answer and outlook. The ability to explore your own concepts, enjoy your work tasks with financial gain. Definitely was something that I would have considered my level of success. I want to enjoy my work, but also I want to make money out the back of it, because that's how the world goes round. And I need a house and I need a car and my dog eats a lot and all those things. And having a feeling of purpose and a working capacity, feeling valued as though as though I offer value, is definitely the way I want it to feel. And I definitely don't think at times those two things align. Sometimes the things I get the most enjoyment out, I don't make any money from whatsoever. But I feel like I'm making the biggest difference for. For instance, I went to Arbroath High School a couple days ago because there's a lot of girls that we want to get into physical activity and fitness. And high school age, first year, second year, is such a great time to speak to those girls. And especially because at that point, I remember I didn't want to do PE at all, and I would never go swimming because I have to take my t-shirt off, and I was absolutely not doing that. And I get it, because I've been a young girl too. But I went and I spoke to those girls, and we played a few clips, and we talked about what it means to be fit and healthy, and what it means to be personally confident, have personal confidence, and how the way you look doesn't need to literally mirror the way you feel about yourself. And I think a lot of the times I offer more value in an environment there for girls at the age of 11, 12, 13, but I'm potentially not exploring my own specific concepts, and I'm definitely not making financial gain. Whereas I would say I was more successful in that environment, where it felt like a moment of success when one girl, there was a parent that came over to me once and said, after it was a meet and greet, and she said, "You don't know, but you've changed my little Lucy's entire life." And I said, "I've got 5 minutes, let's talk about Lucy." And she said, "Lucy wears, you know those Canterbury trackies that zip up at the side? Lucy loves them. She's got like 20 pairs because they're so baggy and they completely hide your shape." But her mother was quite short and very strong, and Lucy then also has that same physique. And she didn't do a lot of extracurricular activity, and she never ran, but a lot of her friends were like runners, track and field. But she couldn't really do that, because could you imagine running in those parachute tracksuit bottoms? Like, it would be like weighted running. So she never used to take part. And one day, Lucy came downstairs in shorts and said, "I want to go running." And her mum was like, "Okay, I'm staying cool, this is fine. What was the change, Lucy?" And she said, "Well, you know SABRE?" And then she said, "Yeah." And she was like, "Her legs are huge. And like, she wears those pants. And like, she's great." And her mum was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I've got legs like SABRE." And I literally felt, her mum was saying this to me, and I felt like tears coming to my eyes to think that little Lucy there will now wear shorts and will now go running with her friends. And the difference that someone can make by just being themselves in an environment and be personally confident in that environment has made to this one little girl, that to me feels like way more success than any other thing that I've achieved. Any other monetary value you could put on any event I'd ever been to, this little girl's life. And I think, like, for me, that's a measure of something that being an entrepreneur or building businesses, out the back of what that looks like and how it feels may be very different, and your values may change in that. Okay, so out the back of Sheli McCoy, I have McCoy Holdings, my holding company. And from that, these are the various businesses I own, I'm director in, or am part of. Sweatbox is the major fitness facility that Sam and I both founded together. From that, there's 2 affiliates. One is CrossFit Dundee, the CrossFit element, and the other one is Scottish Weightlifting Club, where both of us are owners in that. Complete Physique is my sports therapy and rehabilitation business because my master's also covers biomechanics and kinetics. And my original passion, I wanted to be a physio for horses. You have to start at people first, and I just kind of got stuck on people because I thought it was really interesting and stayed there on a sports basis to look at if you move and you are imbalanced, or particularly weightlifters, when they squat and they drift to the left or to the right, I love the analysis of why does their body move the way it moves and how can we change that? How can we fix that? How can we look at their ankle mobility and their upper body and look at how those things work together? And that's what Complete Physique is. Heavy Rep Gear is a clothing brand, sports clothing brand. Originally, way back when they sponsored me, I was their first ever sponsored athlete, and then I was their last when they went to dissolve the company 5 years ago, and instead I bought it from them, and then took Heavy Rep Gear on to continue creating the shorts that all the guys wear that are bulletproof. People have Heavy Rep Gear shorts that are 30 years old and they're still going. And all of the women's wear is like high neck sports bras, comfortable shorts, nothing rides down, stuff that I actually want to train in. It's just more functional. So I kept the brand going for that. Success in 6 is when people come to me on this 6-week block to learn how to pull together targets that may change their life. Things like sleep, hydration, steps, training, protein, calories, and I give them a habit formation tool. And I teach them how to fish, essentially, and then giving them that 6 weeks of education on this is how you would pull together the algorithm for change. Every single person in here might want to make a change in themselves some way, to be more active, to be more muscle bound, to be less muscle bound, to be leaner, to be healthier, to get more outside time. And all of those are just habits that we need to form. So Success in 6 habits, 6 weeks, is my habit formation tool that I offer to individuals to help them learn about how to make a change in their lives. And lastly, Weightlifting Scotland. So I was the first female to ever join the board of weightlifting in Scotland, and it had been an all-male dominated board and boys club for like 2 decades. And essentially I joined the board to be able to offer a female's insight in sport. And off the back of that, Scotland managed to rebuild a relationship with BWL and Sports Scotland for a funding funnel essentially. Then we won the Celtic Nations for the first time in 10 years. And I was the assistant coach with a male coach lead, John, who is also Scotland's coach now. And off the back of that, Scotland has received their first funding bout from Sports Scotland individually, allowing us to send more athletes to World Championships, European Championships, and ultimately Commonwealth Games, Glasgow 2026. I think this, for me, demonstrates as well how much need there is for females in a sporting environment, because one of the reasons BWL weren't prepared to work directly with Scotland was because in an all-male dominated board, there was no voice that broke through for like the modern athlete. Scotland currently has more female weightlifters than it does male, and there was no representative of that. Also, a lot of the board were adult males over the age of 70. Weightlifting was very different, I would say 20 to 30 years ago, and the ideas formulated 20 to 30 years ago need to have changed by now. And they hadn't, and that was okay. But again, another reason why BWL hadn't extended funding individually for Scotland to be independent in their funding for their athletes. So I think it's hard to be a female in a very male-dominated environment, but if you're able to stick it out and let your voice be heard and stand up confidently to make a difference, it can make a huge difference, not just to yourself, but the entire future of a specific sport, and in this case, weightlifting. Thank you. So the power of partnerships. Don't think you can do this on your own, and also don't try. So hard. And it's so hard to create your ideas, nurture them individually, think outside the box, put them together, stick to a timeline, have a flow of energy and of effort. Also, see the mistakes that you've made, add positives, detect negatives and change them, even to do that by yourselves, which every single business needs to grow and flourish and adapt. Our family motto is adapt and overcome. And I think in business, it's a great way to look at it too. It won't always be the end outcome that you see from the beginning. There has to be adaptability, and 2 sets of eyes or more are better than 1. These pictures here, this is Sam and I's hands. We didn't realize how powerful these would be. But I remember having a contract, and this first one, Sam was an accountant, still is, he's a qualified accountant, and it's fair to say he hated your job, right? Still is. He's a professional ice hockey player and has been outside his whole life, and then went into accounting because it was a family thing, then found himself sitting in an office wearing a shirt and a tie, and then coming to the gym every morning before he worked and every night after, and just not feeling himself. And one day we had this like little warehouse that we used to train in and train people in, and we were plotting. I was plotting more than he was just hating on his job, and I was plotting. And he came back one day and there was construction happening right in front of us across the road. And I walked out and I was stood on that pavement. I was just kind of looking at it. And then someone in a suit, not in all the builder's gear, was stood there, and I said, "Hey, what are these people building?" He said, "Oh, it's me. My name's Stephen. We're building brand new units." And I was like, "Oh, for something specifically?" He went, "No, I'm just going to rent them out, I think." And I was like, "Interesting. How big are they?" So we had a conversation. And then Sam came home from work, had a conversation with him, spoke to Stephen and said, "How do I reserve a unit?" And he said, "Right now, tell me you want one and I won't give it away." And I said, "Well, actually, I don't want you to put the wall up between 2 of them. I want 2. I want a really big unit." And he said, "Fine." So he took all my details. He said, "Come into the office next week and we'll sort it out." Sam and I had a conversation and he went, "I want in." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I want in." He's like, "I'll quit in the office." He's like, "You and me, we'll build Sweatbox together." And I was like, "Do you mean it?" And he went, "Swear I'll shake on it." I went, "Well, I need evidence, so let me take a picture of this." So we shook on it and I took a photo of it. And Sam and I have been in business now for the last 7 years together, building Sweatbox and CrossFit Dundee and Scottish Weightlifting Club. And next week we open our next business, the Recovery Rooms, which is infrared saunas and ice baths, and we've done that together. And I think like here, this was the most amazing start of business, and how the most amazing partnership, the most supportive business partner you could ever have, because I also disappear all the time to do loads of other things. And I'm like, "I'm just gonna go on TV for a few weeks." And he's like, "Sure, I've got this." And again, another real powerful thing in partnerships is when you're 20%, they can be your 80. And when you're 80%, they've got permission to just be 20 and just relax. And the last time I came home from filming, I was like, "Go away, take your golf clubs, come back in a week." And he's like, "No problem." Grabbed his golf clubs and off he went, because I will then take the load and he will then have some slack. I think even in the forefront of running business, having a partner is obviously great for that. But in the background, Sam's great at doing the accounts, and if he wasn't, we'd outsource that to someone else, and I'd create a partnership with them, or a partner when it comes to the equipment that we're gonna use in the gym, because other people can bring these ideas to the table that help evolve your business, whether it's in sport or another domain. Having other people that have specific skills is amazing, because I'm great at front-facing talk and in the gym. Sam is great at the numbers. He's great at handling complaints. He's great at sorting out the programming. And they're all things that I would consider more strength of his and probably potentially even a weakness of mine. So having that together is certainly something that we needed. It's not all plain sailing. This second handshake is after this. You'll be like, "What? You were so positive." Things fell to the wayside a little bit at the back end of 2019. COVID, obviously, but also Dundee City Council wanted to evict us from those units because they wanted it to be industrial. They've since turned it into a bakery. But at the time, they didn't want it to be sport. They wanted it to be industrial or storage. Which is crazy, because there's currently, or at that time, there was 33 unused empty warehouse buildings in Dundee that had no no sort of use at all. They weren't used for storage, they were making no income, they were dead space. Why we needed the unit we had is because it had height. And in CrossFit, you need a rig because you climb ropes, and you do pull-ups, and you do all this crazy stuff. But they wanted us out. So they gave us a 90 days to move notice. We were essentially in the back end of potentially losing 50 grand, maybe more. And we had a big decision to make, because had we said we gave it a go, it didn't work, Dundee City Council is the reason, they ruined it for us. We could have walked away, Sam could have went back to the office, and I could have done something else. But the start of 2020, Sam came in one day and went, I found a new unit. She's like, should we talk about it? And I was like, okay, we should at least talk about it. And we spoke about this new unit, and we went and seen it together, and it was a child's play, like soft play. So it had huge amount of roof space, 6,000 square foot, 3 times the size of the original one, Sweatbox 1 that we call now, 3 times the size, loads of parking, like showers, changing rooms, a whole clinic room that I could have, a storage room, and a child's playroom for parents that have children. It was a bit of a no-brainer, but obviously huge setbacks. I felt like some of the mistakes that we made in the original Sweatbox 1 were our fault. And to be honest, like, I'll tell you about that more in a minute, but it probably is my fault. Like, I was really keen on getting this business started, that I maybe didn't cross the T's and dot the I's originally, and that gave Dundee City Council space, wiggle room to say, but you didn't do this before you moved in. And I was like, damn, it's true, didn't do that. So in 2020, Sam and I decided to go again and try again and build again and start from the beginning again. So we shook on it for a second time, and I was like, this worked last time, but I'll take a picture for evidence, you can't back out. And we are still in that building now, and it's thriving. It's actually bigger than the first, better than the first, with a bigger community, more opening hours, more space. It's just generally much better. So the breakdown of Sweatbox 1.0, even though at the time was the worst thing that had ever happened, and particularly, like, I remember Sam being like, this can't possibly be happening, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in my whole life. And it genuinely was. But for us to be able to go again and now be thriving shows me that the obstacle is the way. And that's actually one of my favorite books by Ryan Holiday. Please, thank you. Innovation, perseverance, and resilience in entrepreneurship. And you really do require all of these. Or over the time that you are working on an idea, you'll develop them whether you want to or not. So my entrepreneurial approach, so just how I would basically describe the way I do things. My entrepreneurial approach has been a multi-dimensional clash of research, innovation, imagination, education, and frustration. I had seen a recurring problem in the fitness industry service, the way it was delivered, and then I gave myself the ability with my education and the opportunity to offer a solution. And that's all good business is, really. See a problem, offer a solution, go for it, and make sure everyone else knows what problem exists and that you hold the solution. And that, for me, has been one of the biggest ways that we've advertised our gym. We've advertised health and wellness. And also, Scotland don't always have the highest numbers of youth athletes that are achieving, and Sam does a lot of work now in youth development, because the problem is we don't get the funding. So I did something to get more funding. Then we don't have the coaching staff, so we qualified ourselves, and now we're the coaching staff. So we're hoping that the solution is more training, more exercise, more funding for the youths, means more opportunities for them as they grow in their space and their sport. Please. So transferable sports lessons. A lot of you are sitting here in sports tops, so I'm guessing a lot of you are from a sports environment. Even being part of sport is something that I think, for me, has taught me discipline, perseverance, patience, and ambition. And I think if you do whatever you currently do now, there are transferable lessons into business and as an entrepreneur, and definitely things that you can lean on as you go. I think my perseverance is something that stands out above all other things. I just don't back down. And if someone says no, I'll understand why they've said no, and I'll find a new way to present it to them that would offer them a different insight a different possible way that this could be helpful. You didn't like it the first way. Okay, what about this? How about we frame it differently? Because sometimes I don't need people to think the way I think. I just need them to give me space. I just need them to let me cook. And as long as I can convince them that that's a good idea, then generally I'm on to a bit of a winner. Please. Don't think that will click on. Click through? Yeah, that's fine. It was just a video of our Sweatbox 1.0. So adversity is your advisory, and adversity will inspire your flight or be the alibi to your freedom, which is something I said on a podcast after Sweatbox 1 dissolved, essentially. This is Sweatbox 2 that we're currently in. There's Sam coaching a class. And essentially, we opened Sweatbox 1.0. We poured a lot of money into it. We built this beautiful building with showers and a ping pong table. I like that bit. We did loads of classes. We offered free space for people to train. And we had a car park. It had 12 spaces. I was quite proud of that. And we pushed on with that. And we offered indoor and outdoor classes. And then when COVID hit, we still continued. We gave all of our kit out to our members, and we told everyone to show up at 6 a.m. on Zoom and 5 p.m. We'd run a different class in the morning and at night, so you could train twice a day, and you'd connect with your community, and you'd still be part of something. For many people, it's the only reason they got out of bed that day. And certainly for us, it kept us with purpose. I would still wake up, and because our names were on the lease, we were allowed to be in that building, so we could still deliver it from a gym environment. So we did that every day in order for us to be able to still push forward with our community. However, when it came back to October, I think, was it October? October, we moved back in, and the council delivered a 90 days to move notice. There's nothing you can do about that. We'd appealed their decision not to give us category 11 5, 6, 7 times, and it costs money every time. And you get to the end point where it goes to the entire council, and you have a meeting and you sit on Zoom. And Sam and I were sitting on Zoom, and we were praying this one had to be a yes, because without it, that was the end of the road. And it went round the table of the council, men and women, and it was like a no, yes, yes, no, yes, no. And then it came to the last one, and it was Hunter. His surname was Hunter. And I was like, come on, Hunter. And he said no. And I was like, oh. So we got this 90-day to move notice, and essentially we lost the building. We lost all the building works we'd done in it. It's not something you could have picked up and took out. And we thought that that was kind of the end of the road for us. But really, this taught us how much we wanted to do what we currently do. This also taught us how strong our community was, and just how much we'd invested in them in the first 10 weeks we were open, before we were closed for 14 months. And then it was a few weeks we were open again before we then had to obviously move. But in 10 weeks, we'd created a community that said they would go anywhere with us, that they would help us move. And our members showed up with vans to move kettlebells and flooring and barbells. And people showed up with paintbrushes to help us get the new place ready. And we turned a child soft play in 2 weeks. We turned it round into being Sweatbox 1.0. This is all false walls and painting and flooring, and we had to scrape off flooring that had been down for 1 million years with one of those little shaky machines, and everyone got carpal tunnel, and it was a whole thing. And we did that because it's all we wanted to do. We literally, I couldn't have thought about doing anything else than supporting a community that literally went, if you move, we'll come with you, we'll support you too. And I realized it was a lot bigger than just a gym at that point. It was like an outlet for people and a community for people. And I think adversity really taught us that now we wouldn't give it up for anything. And I'm a very busy person now, and the last thing I'll do is compromise on Sweatbox. I begin tour, I actually leave tonight for a tour with Gladiators until December the 22nd. And if I get back, I'm back on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and I've already moved all my shifts so that I can work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the gym. Still see the morning crew, the afternoon crew, and the night crew, because it's not just the gym, it's not just a class that I'm coaching, it's a community that has supported me and supported us through arguably the hardest thing that we've ever done. Please, thank you. Okay, so what does this actually mean? How is this useful to you? And what can I offer you in ways of foundation that might be some place for you to start? Even if one thing I've said is something that's triggered an idea in your mind or a concept, or even just a little bit more strength or resilience or perseverance than what you maybe had at the start of today. So let's look at the initial steps that I took. Have you ever discussed your vision, your mission, or your values? This is a nod or nod environment. No. And that's fine. Yes, I love that you have. If you've never written down what your vision is for yourself, what your mission is for yourself, your business, your future, and what your values are, I highly recommend it. Actually, I don't know if I can go as far as to say you have to do it. I'm implementing it as homework. For the next couple of months, think this through and write them down, because every single decision I make, every single business I think about or I move into or I buy or I build, I put every single decision back to these three things. And if it doesn't fit my vision, and if it's not part of my mission, and it doesn't uphold my values, I don't do it. And this is what keeps me authentically myself. I've used this so much when it came to even building a character that you'll see on screen, because I don't want her to go out with these either, because this is who I am and this is what I believe in. My vision was always to offer a fully comprehensive fitness environment that doesn't rip you off and just gives you the good stuff. Our rules, we have 9 rules on the wall. I know 9's an annoying number. I should have just given you 10, I know. But the first one is make everyone feel welcome. And that to me is one of the biggest things a gym doesn't do sometimes. And it's one of the reasons you just don't go sometimes. And I think for me, that's really important, specifically as a female in sport and fitness and a gym environment. And that's part of my vision, is to just give you somewhere that if you're a beginner or you're an absolute athlete, that you still belong, and that it's fully qualified individuals. We're offering you information for free the second you walk through the door. It's something that we can be proud of and feel that we've really made a space that anyone can improve physically, mentally, spiritually. And that was part of my vision. My mission, in a nutshell, is to leave everyone and everything better than when I found it. And on earth, if it was my last day and my light goes out, that's all I care about. Was it better because I was there? And I think a mission like that for me means it holds me to make decisions that are in the interest of others before in the interest of myself at times, which isn't, as we know, always the best idea. You can't always just be a people pleaser, but I do think when it comes to the crux of the reasons I do things, that's why. Because I want to give you something. I want you to be a better person in some way because you knew me. And I feel like I stick to that as often as I can. And with my values, I just want everything I say to mean something and to be credible. I don't ever want to pass out information that's false. I don't ever want to make up something for sales. I think my values are that it's credible, it's real, it's personal, and it's something that I can offer that has been real world experience mixed with research. I've got such a research-based mind, and my master's is an MRes by way of research. And I feel like for me, my values are very much in living stronger, living longer, which is the tagline to our gym now, and offering credible information and people that you can trust. And we never ever built this for profit. We built it through passion. And as long as you know that building into a sporting environment might only ever be for passion, then that's a great mindset to go in with. Occasionally you may make a profit, but we know that in sport, it's more about what comes out the back of it in the athlete rather than what car you managed to get that year from it. Thank you. So yeah, definitely if you haven't done that before, I encourage you to do it. It's a really empowering thing to know exactly who you are on paper, your values, your mission, and your vision. So 5 things I wish someone had told me. Take your time when you're planning. And definitely because I didn't take my time when I was planning Sweatbox 1.0, and that's why they said you should have had an application in that should have been accepted before you even spent a penny in that building. They're right. I wasn't willing to accept it at the time, but they're right. I didn't plan ahead of time. I had this amazing idea and I bulldozed my way through it thinking we were about to build the most amazing place and I wanted to get people training right now. And that's something I wish someone had said to me. The second thing is don't allow others' doubts to cloud your courage. The amount of times, the one thing my mum will say is, that's a terrible idea, when are you going to get it started? And she's always the first one to back me with never stop believing. Give everything a go, because you learn. You either win or you learn. You don't lose. You'll always take a lesson out of an environment, and that might be what that challenge was there for you. And the amount of people that will say to me, oh, what, you're going to do it by yourself? Well, that sounds like, what, your own money? That sounds risky. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if you don't make it? What if this happens? And I feel like I understand they have a glass ceiling, but I don't. So don't put yours above me. And I feel like that's something that you need to be quite confident in. Loads of people will have been taught how to risk averse and to never put themselves into a position that they could potentially end up in a vulnerable state. I wasn't really taught that. My mum was a sergeant in the army. So was my dad. My brother was 216 para. They apparently put themselves in harm's way all the time. And I do it in a business sense. But I've never let other people's doubts be the reason I chose not to do something. Balance doesn't exist 50-50, and that's totally okay. I don't think I've ever had a life where I've had a great social life and business is going really well at the same time. That's never been a case for me. It's always been that I'm the one that says no. Like, I don't drink, I don't party really. I don't like staying out past 11 because I'll be busy the next day. Sport's a priority for me, so recovery is really important. So for me, late night things is never an option. It's always a no. Equally, weekends away with the girls, no, because are we going to be near a gym? Probably not. I'm going to have time to answer client calls? Probably not. Am I even going to be concentrating on that? Again, probably not. So I never really found balance when it was like in a youth setting or growing up anyway, because my eyes were always on buildings and growth and creating something. Some people will tell you you have to have balance, but balance can be 70-30. Balance can be one day where you don't have your phone on you at all. That can still count as balance. If all you need is a couple of hours to yourself, all you need is some self-care. Like my self-care is reading and walking my dog. I've got a big husky called Alpha. He is my self-care. He is my balance. And time spent away, I've taken up golf because it takes me away from my phone and puts me outside for a few hours and no one can get near me. But I wouldn't ever say that I have 50-50. I'd say I am the one that shows up early. And I am the one that stays late. And I probably am the one that leaves the party first if I even go. And that's absolutely fine, because I find myself in a position now where I have amazing opportunities like this to talk to lots of people about the journey I've been on and what I've done with it. And that probably is because I made sacrifices along the way. So don't worry about finding this perfectly balanced balance, because it's not really there. And I'll be honest, I don't want it. Like, I want to spend time progressing. I want to spend time with my own ideas. I want to write things down, and I want to have time to focus. And you know, when you sit down to study or to read, you get into that flow, and hours can pass when you're in that flow. But before you get into that flow, every single second drags. It takes me about an hour to get into my flow. And then when I'm in there, I'm so happy. I love it in there. I love the way my brain talks to me. I love the ideas I come up with. I love what I can create in front of me. But that takes time, and it takes no people around me to be able to do that. And I would choose that over anything else. Just because it's never been done before doesn't mean it can't be done. You might be sitting on an idea right now that no one else has tried. Good. Great. I want to know what it is. And I also want you to give it a go. Because just because no one's done it before you doesn't mean that it can't be done. You might be the RBE effect. Does anyone know what that is? Does anyone know who Robert Broyden is? So, the 100 meters sprint record held for like 2 decades. And loads of people gave it a go and couldn't break it. And one day, Robert Broyden, who no one in this room currently knows, showed up and broke the world record for the 100 meters. And off the back of him, every single athlete that went to try it watched his video first, tried it, and either met it or beat it. And that's called the RBE effect. The effect that someone else shows you is humanly possible to achieve. When they show you it can be done, you then think, I'll do it. You can do it, I'll do it. The amount of times, if I can do it, you can do it, gets told to you. That's the RBE effect. That's what they're trying to impose on you. The fact that someone else has done it, so you can do it. But you guys don't have to be the ones that follow. You can be the ones that lead. You can be the one that said, I did it first, and you can do it thereafter me. You can literally be the RBE effect yourself. So even if you've got something you've never done before, no one else has done before, it doesn't mean it can't be done, and you might be the person that does it. You might be the RBE effect for other people, millions of other people potentially. The last thing is stop, look, and listen. And I know this is also what we think about when we cross the road, but it's also what I do now before I go into business, or before I make a decision, or before I'm hasty. I'm definitely an impulsive person. I have a chimp brain. It's really loud. But I also definitely think now I stop, I look at what it is I'm committing to, or that we're deciding, or that we're building, or that we're changing, and I listen to those around me as well. I can listen to positivity, negativity, encouragement, or fear. Doesn't mean I have to absorb those things, but I can take them on board for sure. I like to look at the general consensus of things that I'm doing. And from that, my will always persevere anyway. I will always do what I want to do anyway. But I like to definitely listen to the advice that's given around me and just take a second, because nothing needs to be created hastily. Some of the decisions I've made, one thing that someone told me once was, no decision you ever make is undoable. The only thing that we cannot change in life is death. Other than that, I can reverse all of my decisions and try again. And I think that's something that I've done through my career multiple times. I've made a few steps this way and went, that might be a mistake actually. Let's try this. Like, that fits quite well for now, but then maybe now no, that's a mistake as well. Okay, we'll go back here. And I think being adaptable to that now, stop looking and listening. I don't have to make so many adjustments because I don't rush in quite so much. Please, Ilsa. So here's some of my book recommendations for you based on things that I've read recently and read multiple times, and have found things in it that I physically actioned. Not just a book that made me feel good, apart from that one, but the other three are things I found real world advice in. The first one is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. The Obstacle is the Way talks about every single great that you will ever have heard of, and how they made it to the position that we now know who they are and what they overcame. Not a single one of them had a smooth sail. Not a single one. Every single person was presented with insurmountable obstacles and challenges, and they chose the obstacle is the way. They went through instead of round. The path of least resistance was not something that was in their locker. And I think that's a really important thing to look at, because I've come up against some challenges. We lost the first gym. That's my obstacle. And we went right through. And now we're in a position that the gym is thriving, and so is the community. But without reading this book, I wouldn't have understood that that was my challenge. There was my obstacle. That was the thing that I needed to face. And I think also, as a business person or a business-minded individual, or even as an athlete, sometimes there's a bit of a seismic shift, but something pretty awful sometimes happens for that seismic shift to occur. And I think for me, some of the adversity that we faced was that. And this book is the thing that told me that's okay. And a lot of people face that, and a lot of people can overcome that. So it's a very good book for that. The second one is Misadventures in Entrepreneuring. Lucy Rose Walker is actually my best friend. She's from Dundee, and I train her still. Do you know her? She's great, isn't she? Yeah. So she wrote this book, and this is great because every single doubt you've ever had about yourself, they've written it on paper. And when I read it, I phoned her and I was like, I feel seen. I was like, you wrote this book about me, didn't you? And she was like, literally every single person with an idea or that takes inspiration to give something a go, we come up against doubts. And a lot of them are from ourselves. We make mistakes. We do things 3 times. We forget to do some things at all. And this Misadventures in Entrepreneuring basically highlights all the various things, the pros, the cons, the pitfalls, the accidents, the mistakes, that you can take in entrepreneurship, and it's great. It's a really great read. It's actually quite funny, but also it helps you feel like you're not alone, because being an entrepreneur can be very lonely. most of the time someone is there with the idea calling the shots, and there's a whole big team down here, but this helps you integrate your ideas with other people as well. So definitely worth it. Then Relentless, has anyone read this? It's amazing. It's basically about becoming unstoppable, and he categorizes it into like champions and cleaners and basically people that show up to be there non-stop. Kobe Bryant, he uses him as a lot as an example, and how he's dominant at all times. His championship records, the way he leads a team, the way he talks to his opponents, the way he lives his life. And Relentless is about what it takes to be that athlete. And it's not an in-the-moment thing. It's a full-time thing. It's a lifestyle. And right now there's like this thing going around that daddy is a state of mind. Well, apparently it is. And this very much talks about how the relentless effort is a state of mind, and it's constant. And it also talks about the varying categories of that. The person that is constant, the second being someone who will show up when needed, and the third one being there to pick up the pieces when it doesn't go quite right. And you might be one of those, and that's absolutely fine too, because there's so many strengths in each of these. And I found my own category in there too. I found myself probably being one of the most relentless ones, but also helped me recognize those around me that were in different categories and lent into their strengths more, but didn't expect everything from them all the time, realizing that it wasn't a relentlessness that was in them, it was a reliability and a consistency. And I would say that Sam probably and I are very different. I'm fire, he's water. And I will be relentless at all times, but he will always be right there. There'll never be a minute that he says, oh, I've dropped the ball. Like, he'll be like, okay, I'll pick up the pieces here. Like, he'll be that guy. And I think even knowing that in an environment and recognizing that within your group helps you harness people's skills and probably adopt the right level of expectation onto people that are around you, giving them freedom to still be themselves and understanding that they're not the relentless one. They are, I think they call it the cleaner, and it's not like a janitor cleaner, but the cleaner is a person that will be there to make sure everything's in order. And knowing that was really helpful for me, because I once was told, I think it was actually you that told me, Mum, don't expect to see yourself in others. And that's really, really important, because I did do that for a long time. I'm like, why aren't you working like 90 hours a day? But that's just because that's who I am. So that book taught me that. And then Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. She's just one of my favorite authors, and you have to switch off. Right now I'm actually reading the Kingdom of Ash series, or the Kingdom of Ash book, which is the Throne of Glass series. I love fiction because I want to switch off. And any time that I do have time to myself, and it is for self-care, I need to read something that's not on education, because I just get too pumped. I get so motivated reading these books. I'm like, I'm going to start a business right now. And I'll phone Sam and be like, let's start a business. And he's like, go to sleep, we're not starting a business. Read fiction. And I'm like, okay. So instead, I'll put myself in a whole fiction world that's got dragons and dungeons, because for that hour, I'm not businesswoman Shelley. And you do need to step away from that and find something that can help you down-regulate from that, because then when you come back to it, you're stronger and you're more focused and you're willing and you're ready and you're motivated again, because you stepped away from it just for a short time, for a couple of hours. So lastly, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk to individuals about what I've done in my journey and share my thoughts, my ideas, and any advice that I have. And I hope that at least something has resonated with you. And I'm more than happy to take any questions on anything that we've discussed. Done.
So thank you so much to Shelley again.
Of course.
And that was absolutely fantastic. It was so amazing to just hear how you turned your passion into such a sort of successful business, but also the stuff you overcame to get there and how you sort of turned that into success. So as Shelley said, we are going to start taking questions. So if you do have a question for Shelley, just raise your hand. So yeah, I think we'll go one up the back.
Sure.
Hi Shelley, thanks. I like how you address doubt. So in sports performance, you talk about like managing doubt, your own self-doubt, the source of that. So do you have like mentors that, or people you look up to? Like how do you reach out for like feedback or advice, and then obviously how do you balance that with your own drive, ambition, without obviously doubting yourself, but affecting people's
Yeah.
opinions, right?
That's a great question. So looking at, the question really is, how do I manage my own self-doubt whilst I'm still moving forward and putting it towards my ideas? I do doubt myself. I get imposter syndrome quite a lot. Even when I came here, I was stood there, you all came in and sat down, and I was like, oh, I hope you like me. Like, I get it all the time. It's normal. It's human nature to wonder if what you're offering is of value, or if that you can make a difference to anyone, or if what you're about to talk about is going to resonate with individuals. And then in sport, I certainly doubt myself because I'm in a seniors group, but I'm 36, which actually means I'm a master. So in theory, I should be in the masters group, but I'm still competing in a seniors group. And I worry all the time that maybe I'm not good enough in that group because of my age versus the 18-year-old that me and her travel to worlds together. We're lifting the same weights. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be here. It's a very normal thing to be clouded with these doubts, but I feel like it's a very essential part. The homeostasis of your body requires you to at times feel like you are the best in the room, sometimes know that you're not the best in the room, and understand that progressing forward with doubt is always going to be the case. I would never want to feel or say there is no doubt and you might not feel it and try and get rid of that, because it's healthy sometimes. Don't you think that sometimes having a bit of self-doubt sharpens your focus? Because you don't want those things to be true. So you work harder in a different direction so that you do deserve to be there and that you will offer value and something will resonate with others. I have had mentors. I had a business mentor called Mike McWilliam, and he gave me my first investment, £1,000, to buy a clinic bed and towels so that I could continue my journey on becoming a rehab specialist before I even started uni. So I would have been 18 at the time. And he gave me a lot of real world business-based advice. And he was the one that basically told me a lot about, it doesn't matter what you think really about yourself, it's what you can offer and what you can give. And he also told me that everyone else's opinion of me is none of my business anyway. So I think that was a really, really important thing for me to learn too. So I hope that answers your question about the way I feel about doubt and how I manage it.
So would you if you had a question, would you just reach out to people and
Yes.
ask questions, and then you'd like, oh, I value this bit I might.
Yes. If I had a question based on anything business-wise, so for instance, we were building a template of how best to integrate staff into our business. We don't know anything about that because we'd never had staff at the time. So I reached out to someone that owns an amazing gym that has 10 staff. His name's JB and he's from Manchester. And I said, hey, you're a phenomenal businessman and it looks like what you're doing is really working. And I know some of the people that work for you and they love their job. Can you please tell me what that looks like? Would you be willing to share that information with me? And he went, are you free? I'll phone you now. And I went, yeah, great. And from that, we now have a 5-step process in which people come in, they shadow, then they shadow and begin to assist, then they shadow, but they take a component, we're with them the whole time, and each one of them has a different pay scheme as well. And that's all off the back of what JB gave me. Some of the things he offered, I didn't like. So I didn't implement them, and that's okay. But I took all of his advice and I went, that aligns with my vision, my mission, and my values, and that doesn't. So I won't use that. You'd be surprised how many people will be willing to answer your questions and give you advice. You'd be so surprised. People don't tend to gatekeep. Not when you're genuinely please help me. That helps. Yes?
You talked a bit about partnership and also the community you foster in your business. Do you find that there's any community among other entrepreneurs, whether that's female entrepreneurs or other entrepreneurs in the fitness industry?
Yes, so are there other entrepreneurs in our industry? Yes, there's actually a women's business group in Dundee. I got invited along and I spoke there as well. And there was loads of female business owners and they were all clubbing together on, doing shared partnerships and knowledge transfer. A lot of them were sharing information on software they use in their business to reduce rates and payments and how they take money in stores. A lot of them were in retail. So there was a lot of entrepreneurs there. In the fitness industry, gym owners help each other a lot. A lot of the gym owners in Scotland are affiliates of CrossFit. And the biggest gym in Scotland with an affiliate is CrossFit Glasgow. And Gav and Ian are great. And they've given us multiple offers of help and given us advice. They've come over and visited us. And they too are people that have just begun a bunch of different gyms and worked on them. So I think there is a lot of a camaraderie between entrepreneurs, as long as you are open to that relationship as well. I don't know, I don't find myself always the most approachable. I'm trying to be more approachable. I've created a LinkedIn, I put myself out there, and sometimes when I'm delivering seminars, I invite people along, or if they have one, I make an effort to go myself, and just show support to those people as they progress in this business too. Yes, please.
It seems like you and Sam have quite the partnership where you have very complementary strengths. Before you guys made this partnership, did you consider these strengths, or kind of what was your thought process before you guys decided to go on?
I think we knew sport was a major part of both of our lives. We knew that Sam was great with numbers and accounts. I knew that I wanted to build a gym, do programming, physically be in the class to say 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, I was that guy. So we knew that ultimately we had those sides together, but then also there was a willingness to grow and to learn. And the one thing that we have within ourselves together is patience. Sam can always talk and I will always listen, and I can always talk and he will always listen. And I think building something together, the communication element, someone that you could get locked in a room with and still get on with for a month, is one of the reasons that I was like, I know it could go right and we would be fine, and I know it could go wrong and we would be fine. And we might have been successful together, but we also might not have been. And I don't think I truly now I would. Now if I was to take another business partner into this already established business, I would consider their strengths and what they bring to the table that we're not currently bringing. Is it a good business decision? Is it financially viable? Is it something I think will bring growth? But at the time, it was, I would go to war with him, so I wouldn't go into business with him. And that was a decision I made. Yes?
Thank you for sharing your perspective. I'm interested in what obstacle you might be encountering now and how you're making your way through it. You talked about, your past obstacles with the gym and everything, but as you've grown, you're encountering perhaps more now or recently. How have you learned new lessons?
So the biggest obstacle we face now is I'm being pulled in multiple directions. So at the back of my sporting success, and because I built an online presence, the BBC phoned me and said, would you like to be a gladiator on primetime TV, Saturday night, 6 p.m? And I said no. And they were like, come on, it'll be great. And I said, no, I want to educate. I want to inspire and I want to motivate. And they said, well, if you go on TV and you run around in a shiny suit, loads of schools will call you. You can go and speak to all the girls about sport. And I was like, okay, I will do it then. And that's literally why I became a gladiator. But now Gladiators goes on tour tonight till Christmas. And then next year we film again, and there's another experience. And I'm being given all the opportunities to step into the things I wanted, education, and more opportunities to inspire more. Yes, girls and boys, but little girls resonate more with me, and so do their mothers, about having a strong female role model in their lives. And I think the obstacle for us is going to be how we balance the growth of Sweatbox, the new recovery room business, and still sticking to the things that I originally wanted to do. At the minute, we don't have any serious negative. We're in such a good place at the minute that everything's progressing forward. It's slow, but it's progressing forward. And I think the biggest obstacle for us is going to be finding time for us to still build and move on the same pathway when there's all these other doors opening, which is, it's a really strong position to be in. To be like, the biggest obstacle is I've got all these opportunities. But that is it. And it's like to align with what I want to deliver in life and what I want to offer to the younger generation. Oh, we own another business, Next Gen. Sam and I actually began another business at the start of the year with one of our friends, Greg, who's a great coach, called Next Gen Fitness, and it's for children. And we already held camps in July, sold out camps over the week of July of school holidays, and then we're going into schools now. We're going to go into schools once a week and deliver fitness in-house that's functional fitness. We're also going to deliver a talk about hydration, because kids never drink water, nutrition, so they know what protein is, and why you should go to bed on time, and do some fitness in the class. So we're also doing Next Gen Fitness, and really they're the obstacles at the minute. There's not enough time in the day. That's my obstacle. I need more hours in the day and an extra day in the calendar. Thank you. Yes, please.
What is one habit, I guess, apart from exercising and drinking water, that you would tell us all to implement right now that we're not already doing?
Journaling. Reflective practice. So I don't think I ever moved forward properly without looking at where I'd been and how I got there, and understanding some of the foot mistakes I made along the way, reading about them and then writing them down, because I think all humans are very resilient and quite task focused, that when something new is presented to you, you just attack it, regardless of maybe the way it makes you feel at the time. Needs doing, you get it done. Whereas when I actually step back and I journal how I feel about that, what I did that day, or what I've done that month, or what my goal was for the next month, and then I read it back and realize I didn't actually do that. I didn't implement that at all. It's a really great way to hold me accountable to always moving forward. And that actually is a really important thing. Have you ever heard of the Frank Shamrock theory? So Frank Shamrock was a boxer, but then he turned motivational speaker. And he has this theory called the plus, the minus, and the equal. And it means that you, in your life, should have all three. Your minus is the person that looks up to you, the person that looks at what you're doing, mimics you, imitates you, wants to be you, and drives with passion towards where you are. Your equal is the person that stands with you, the person that's working just as hard, that wants that top spot. There's only one on offer and you're both gunning for it. And that's your equal. And they keep you moving forward and never slowing down. And then you have your plus. It's the person who shows you the way, the one that's already done it, the one that's been inspiring, the one that's got the I did it this way story, and the person who inspires you or motivates you or educates you. And I think by journaling, I find it so easy then to pick out who's been my plus, who's my minus, and who's my equal. And with that, you are forever the student, forever the teacher, and forever the friend. So if you don't know about the Frank Shamrock theory, read about that and then identify the individuals in your life that are those things for you, because they're really valuable for you. That was a tangent, but thank you.
I think we have time for one more question. So, who else got one?
That's good if we got through them all. Yes.
I mean, you probably get asked about this all the time, but as a society, I guess we like to think that we're getting less sexist and misogynistic, but I think that there's still a lot of work to be done, and I was wondering if you can notice the shift, especially, obviously in sports, but in general as a business, and if it is.
I'd like to be positive and say, so the question is, have I noticed a shift in less sexist behavior or people being misogynistic in this world, and particularly in the fitness industry? I'd like to be positive and say I have, because I would say I have. I would say, as you say, there's still work to be done and it's not good enough yet, but I also talk a lot about what it's like to be a gym owner, gender immaterial, what it's like to be an athlete, gender immaterial, what it's like to be a spokesperson or an entrepreneur. And I don't think there's very often I bring it back to being a female, because yes, okay, I am a female, but ultimately lower the tone of my voice, my success is no different. And I think for me to be able to be in a position that, so a lot of the time, one time a guy came in, probably delivering an exciting letter, who knows, suit, walked in, hi sweetheart, is the boss home? And I thought, of course. So I literally just turned around and went, hi, I'm Shelley, how can I help? What would you like? Because for me, there's no point in me being offended by it anymore. I used to be, girl power, you don't understand, I'm coming for you, like women, let's go, who run the world, like I was doing it. But ultimately, it's not received in the way I wanted it to be received. And the louder my voice, I was aggressive. And the more abrupt I was, that's what I was aggressive and I was abrupt. And if I was ever firm in my beliefs and ever moved from them, I was a bitch. And I feel like none of those things are true. And if I lean into them, it makes them, like, brings them to fruition. When really, I think gender immaterial, there is a lot of that going on, but my sights are set on this key road of motivating, inspiring, and educating. And that to me doesn't come with a gender. It comes with how we talk to the youth, how we talk to ourselves and what we do with our time. So I have noticed a bit of a positive change. And to be honest, I feel like I am part of that positive change. I feel like I've noticed myself take steps in the right direction for that. And that's not an easy thing to do either, because that comes with its own pitfalls, but I think I'm going to continue to do it.
So, thank you so much.
One last one in the corner there, because she's got a dog, so.
The dog is cute. Similar. Have you largely grown and stayed around the Dundee area? And is this like where your support network is? Because I've moved 7 times in 10 years. And what I find is you have to build everything from scratch. So when you're changing so many elements in your life, how do you optimize performance? Is that kind of in the same, like, I take the same electrolytes with me, I take my brand of coffee with me, my mom watches my dog, like how does that work out practically when everything is chaos? What elements do you stabilize in order to be at your best?
Okay, yeah, great question. A lot of things I could probably talk about there, but I am you and you are me. I moved a lot because my parents were military. My mum does sometimes watch my dog, but Sam is also Alpha's dad, so he has him. I'm like, here you go, you have this dog. And ultimately, for me, the things that I keep the same and hold within stability, definitely nutrition is one of them. I use the same supplement brand. I use ESN. I just really like it. Also, it's Inform Sport approved, and I'm on WADA and ADAM, so I get tested all the time. So I need that to be true. So I have ESN for that. I also then definitely think that the reason I stay in and around Dundee, yes, a lot of it is because my businesses are built there, my mum lives here. But a lot of it is because the amount of times that a Scottish person gets given an opportunity and then literally moves to London the next day, I'm just so bored of seeing it. And like, what about here? What about the smaller areas? What about the villages? What about Scotland? What about Dundee? What about St Andrews? And I feel like I want to offer what I have to my neighbours, to the people that I want it to make a difference to, rather than, because within the first filming block, I was offered to live in Manchester for 6 months, just see how it goes, more opportunities, you'll make more money, or you can come to London, and I just said no. Dundee is the city of change, and might be part of that change, or I want to be, or I'm trying to be part of that change. So I deliberately didn't move at this point, and I moved a lot as a kid. We had a lot of houses as a child, so, and I liked it. I quite liked getting a new house and getting a new room, and mum would decorate it nice, and it was kind of cool. But then as an adult, I find a lot of happiness. I moved at the start of this year into a cottage in the middle of nowhere, and no one else lives there, and it's amazing. And that is my like quiet space. So I think I really value that. I always keep my nutrition the same. I'm a bit of a creature of habit. That's an athlete's trait for sure. And then ultimately I travel for work, and I always come back here, because I would also say place, like home is not necessarily just a place, but it's people, and it is a community. And when I walk into the gym, I'm home. Like all the people in there, and I'm like, oh, this is what makes me feel like I have stability. Certainly with all the ever-changing things, my diary's not the same any day. I need stability, and stability for me is the people that I see, and my little cottage, and the gym. Hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for those that asked me a question. Really insightful as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So you've been absolutely fantastic. I mean, thank you
Thanks.
for talking to us today.
course.
It's been very inspiring. So this, as I sort of mentioned earlier, this is the first of a 3-part series of how entrepreneurial sort of thinking and skills and stuff can actually come from all sorts of places. And I think this has been an amazing example of it today. If today's discussion has sort of sparked anything within you, and you're sort of now thinking, how can I get involved in starting my own sort of venture, business, anything like that, just reach out to the Entrepreneurial Centre. We're here to help. We do all sorts of stuff, events, we even just do one-to-one talks. If you just want to like ask someone about something, we're here to help. So thank you all for coming today and sort of, you know, giving up a bit of your time to come here and hopefully learn something new. It's been really great to see an amazing turnout. Thank you again to Shelley. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.